This is Leadership in Action, and I'm Casey Cheshire. Join me as we delve deep into the passions, expertise, and experiences of Boston area innovators. Sponsored by the Boston chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization. This is Leadership in Action. All right, here we go. I'm excited to announce today's guest. I can't wait to get into conversations with him. We've already started to have a few great discussions that I had to just wait. We got to save this for the show. Otherwise, I'm going to have a great conversation. No one gets to hear it. So I can't wait to introduce the guest today. He is a serial entrepreneur, a leader, a longtime financial professional, CPA. And what I love about the concept here is blending the numbers and that numbers-based wisdom, the analytical knowledge, and being able to look at things in different ways. I know I need more of that. I know sometimes as an entrepreneur, I neglect the numbers, and I need to bring that back in. I need to have the right approach. So I can't wait to get into this podcast and chat with this guest. He's also an international philanthropist, CEO and founder at Analytics Solutions. Satish Patel, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much for such a great introductions. Much appreciated and pretty excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here too. I can't wait to get into this. So let's start the show the way we start every show. Satish, what is a common misconception about leadership and being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I always hear that the entrepreneurship and the leadership are the same thing. In reality, they are two different things. Not all the entrepreneurs are good leaders. Not all leaders are successful entrepreneurs.
So they're different, but somehow in our minds, sometimes we link them together as like the same thing.
Yes, of course. And when we talk about the leaders, you usually say, okay, is it a good leader or not so good leader? When we talk about entrepreneurs, we usually say, oh, are they successful or not successful? Usually you don't talk about, okay, it's a good entrepreneur, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And the entrepreneurship is all about the innovations, about seeing the problem as opportunity, about the taking the risk, about the changing the world, while the leadership is more about, leading the people, leading a group of people towards the common objectives. I think there are some common traits that shared by the leaders, and that makes them whether they are a good leader or a not so good leader. Same way, whether not all the entrepreneurs are good leaders. So let me go through some of the traits that typically all the entrepreneurs have.
Yeah, please.
And not necessarily that the leaders have them all. So number one is the risk taking, right?
What was that?
The risk taking. They are risk takers, right?
Yep.
And, I think, I don't know if you know the statistics, but, 2/3 of the business fail within the first 2 years.
Yeah.
So they're not afraid to take a risk. And they see failure as opposite of, they don't see the failure as opposite of success. They see it's a stepping stone to a success.
Right.
And, so they learn from the mistakes, they learn from the experiences. And, so the risk take is number one. And not all the leaders are risk takers, actually. So sometimes there is a difference between the entrepreneurs and leaders, because some of the leaders are very conservative because they want to protect the company's interest, right?
Right. And risk taking doesn't necessarily make for a good or bad leader, to your point. It's different. That's a different domain. That's the domain of the entrepreneur.
Right. And then, the entrepreneurs are, by nature, they are passionate about something. They're driven, not afraid to sacrifice. And many entrepreneurs sacrifice, their personal lives and, the weekends and the, even the financially. So, they have the high energy. They are majority of entrepreneurs are hardworking people. And it is not job for them anymore. You kind of hardly hear them saying that, oh, it's thank God it's Friday, right? Sure. They're on the clock most of the time, and they're excited, about what they're doing.
Yeah, that's so true. Like I feel like I'm I'm a kid, playing. And I sometimes the joke is I feel like the local police department is going to come get me and bring me back to high school because I'm skipping. I feel like I'm skipping out on something, but I am at work. I am having fun, but I feel like the fun police are going to come at any point.
Yes, yeah. As Steve Jobs says, if you find what you love to do, it's not work anymore.
Right.
Right. And, a lot of entrepreneurs actually enjoy what they do. And, they don't look at the clock all the time. They're passionate about what they do on a day-to-day basis. Another trait is, and not all the leaders are passionate. That's kind of sometimes, they, makes them different. Another trait of entrepreneurs is, their resilience, right? So they don't quit. Like I said, one of the statistics I threw out is that 2/3 of the business fail. That doesn't mean they're not going to get up tomorrow and they're not going to start anything tomorrow. So
start a new one, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, sticking with the vision, even though when the things don't go good. I have personally experienced in my own, where every time there was a reason, whether it was a financial reason, emotional reason, chance to quit. But I personally didn't quit, and I have a good people who kind of supported us also, and that's where we are today. We started 15 years ago, as a kind of a concept. Now we are over 700 people, and
Wow.
we have offices here and offices in India, and along the way in the 15 years there was we had situations where things didn't go right. Think about COVID itself, right? You think about that one day, you have everything is going great, and suddenly the whole country is closed. So we have a lot of restaurants, we have a lot of hotels, we have a lot of businesses that basically need to be physically open, and suddenly they're shut down. And and I think one of the best decisions we made was we did not let anybody go, and that's kind of our value system. We put, and I was listening to one of your broadcasts, and putting employees in front of the customer, because if the employees take care of the customer will take care of you, and then the profits will come, right? Yes. And so one of the things we decided, that keep all the employees, not let anybody go. Wow. And I think we are probably, fortunately or unfortunately, we are probably one of the industry who benefited, because people are more open to kind of try out the working remotely, outsourcing, so that helps us, and that was one of the best decisions that we made. But things don't go right, like COVID. You have to stick with the plan, and I think I'm glad that we did.
Yeah. I'm glad you shared that story. I think stories is, it's how we learn an EO, right? It's how you remember the stories, and the fact that you kept that team. That's not easier said than done, right? That's not an easy decision to decide to keep everyone. But I'm sure as COVID restrictions have dropped off now, you've been able to get back after it even faster because you had the team in place. You're not hiring from scratch now, where a lot of people, it's hard to hire right now.
Yes, very difficult. And I think that everybody, you see the great resignation period,
right.
How people work, and, the flexibility is becoming common now. So if employers are not flexible, then a lot of people are leaving the jobs because they like the flexibility. And I think one of the best thing we did as a company, that we always because we are an outsourcing environment, people always look up, people always ask for, hey, what is your backup plan? And sometimes I laugh myself and say, why are you asking this? We are a successful company. But actually nobody thought actually what COVID is going to do to the whole situations. Overnight we were forced to work from home, and we have a lot of employees in India, right? So think about, and because the technology point of view, it's not as advanced as up here, but we were ready. Actually, we had done fire drills just a couple of weeks before that. How do we make sure that if something happens, and we were ready. And I think we were one of the very few companies who were ready during the COVID times. And actually that works in our advantage, because some of our competition lost a lot of businesses. They came to us because we were ready, you know.
What made you ready? How did you become ready? It's like you mentioned resilience. How did what caused you to plan and to prepare to be resilient for that opportunity?
I think that's comes down to the one of the common characteristics between the leaders and entrepreneurs is vision, and seeing things that people don't see clearly, and anticipating the problems, clearing your path before it happens. And the contingency is always, especially in our industries, the security is the main concern. Uptime is the main concerns, because people have these perceptions about companies working in India that, okay, technology may not be as good, or security is not good. But I can tell you that we work with the small to mid-sized businesses. Our security is probably as good as some of the big company. And I can tell you with the confidence that majority of our small to mid-sized businesses, they don't have security at all. And our security is 10 times better, so.
Wow. I love that you got into the common things. And I think we probably should talk about that. But first, I want to take you now back to the traits of the leader. And then let's talk about what's in common and what's
Yes.
different.
So leaders usually have a good social skills. So, their job is to influence people, right? To lead people. And how do you communicate better? How do you build the better teams? A lot of these things, actually, some of the entrepreneurs are not as, good at, they're great with the ideas, they're great with the vision, they, great with the executions, but not necessarily they are good people. And that's where the leaders actually is important. And like I said, a lot of successful entrepreneurs are good leaders as well, and that's what makes them successful. So so social skills is one. Empathy is more like just being in somebody else's shoes, whether you are a client, whether you're an employee, whether you are a vendor. If you see, like, I don't know if you know blockbusters, right? For example, a long time ago, Netflix came, and the blockbuster was, the name of the town, but they didn't listen to the customer. They didn't look at the technology, and eventually they ended with the, ended up out. Same way with the employees. Why does the attrition happens? Because you're not listening to them, right?
Right.
That's the leader's job. Is that one of the things I do personally, is that, we have town hall meetings, and we have an open door policy that people don't need appointments to talk to me about it, because we wanted to hear from the ground floor.
Yeah.
Because a lot of time it's easy to be on the top and not be aware of the ground level reality. And I think that's one of the things we have done well in our company, is to have not only a town hall meetings at the top level, at the company level, but each department level managers talk to their employees on a weekly basis, keeping them keep the communications open, let them know more transparencies, including sharing the revenue number and attrition number, good, bad, or ugly, sharing all the news so people are aware of it.
By the way, I heard that Netflix actually, or Blockbuster, had the opportunity to buy Netflix twice.
Exactly, right. And they say, no, are you kidding me? Nobody would move to online streaming,
Yeah, I heard they were kind of, I don't know, they rude about it. They were like, this is dumb. No one's gonna use this, And now there's only one Blockbuster in the country. I think it's in Alaska.
The irony is, one of my previous business was a video stores. So we actually competed with the Blockbuster, but we saw it coming. So we ended up with selling to a public company before even that trend happened. So we were lucky that we got out of on time. And that's another trait that people see. They sense the trouble is coming, and they find a way to say, hey, how do we solve the problem? And that's one of the traits of the entrepreneurs and leaders. Good leaders are being able to spot the problem area ahead of time and do something about it. So when something does happen, then they are ready.
Yeah. Oh man, the fact that you were able to sell those video stores before you saw that wave coming. Again, the vision to see that something's happening and then make a change so that you're not stuck holding on to some real estate that really is full of these little DVDs that don't matter anymore.
Yeah, I think we get sometimes that's probably the negative of some of the entrepreneurs. They get so attached to their vision and they don't listen and they don't sense the problems. And what happens is like a blockbuster, So, if the time comes and if you sense that, okay, the business is not viable anymore, you have to detach yourself from the vision and said, okay, it is what it is, work on something next. But being able to recognize this, it's important.
Well, I want to dive into that because I think the challenge that I hear is the two sides. Oftentimes you have the visionary who passionate, high energy, the resilience, they don't quit. We're saying they don't quit but at the same time, we need to listen and we need to know when it is time to, if not quit, pivot, modify what you're doing so that you can stay on the wave. So what advice do you have? How do you both don't listen to anyone and plow it forward or keep going? Don't listen to naysayers, but at the same time, how do you listen appropriately? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to validate the market,
Okay.
continuously that, okay, see, it's great that we got to work on what we love to do. We are good at what we do.
Right.
But there are four things I always remember whenever I'm mentoring some of my employees that, if you want to have a successful career, these four things are important. You have to love what you do. You have to be good at what you do. Just because you love what you do and you're not good at it, that's not going to take you anywhere. So love what you do, be good at what you do. There has to be a market for it, right? What you're doing. And not only market for it, but somebody has to willing to pay for it, right? Otherwise, unless you are like born rich and you have a lot of money and you're doing it for social purpose. I mean, as I always say, even my kids, my advice to my children is always take care of yourself first before you can go and take care of other people. Because if you're not stable financially, you have to be stable. So in order for it to really make a difference in the world, right? You have to be financial. Let's not fool ourselves. I mean, one has to be financially strong to support other people as well, right?
100%.
So I think the market has to exist. And a lot of time what happens is we get so much attached to our ideas and we are not listening. We're not listening that, okay, the trend is moving. Look at the Uber, the whole concept, the taxi industry, right? What is happening to that industry, the whole trend. So if you don't act based on where the market is heading, then definitely people are going to be out of a business. And that so entrepreneur, and that's where the openness comes. One of the characteristics of successful entrepreneurs is that they open to change, they listen, they're open to new ideas and not stuck with that, okay, this is my original ideas. I mean, many times, a lot of time what happens is what you started out with, it keeps changing. And by the time, then you realize, you learn. And then by the time when you end up with having a successful product, it's totally different. And the reason is because you are open to listen to others and adjust to the market needs.
That reminds me, I think that is sometimes the trait that entrepreneurs get dinged for. We get dinged for pivoting or changing too quickly, that sometimes we don't have the leadership side to then help maybe don't change as quick or lead the team into understanding the changes. But you're reminding me here that, as entrepreneurs, we are open to change and new ideas. And even though people sometimes say we do that too much, that's the magic, is we're listening and we're evolving and we're changing what we're doing to match the market and test it out. And so to keep listening to that, and then at some point you settle down to get into a quarterly focus. So you're not whiplashing people with a change every week, but at a certain tempo, you build into your system that we are going to change every quarter. We're going to get better.
Yes. And I think if
Yeah.
you're not willing to change, I mean, you look at the technology side of it. I mean, there's many reasons why everybody has to be adaptable. Like think about COVID times.
Yeah.
If you're not open to technology, you would be closed permanently, right? Technology is key to drive. I mean, everything, almost everything. Last thing is the delegations. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are perfectionists, and they want everything to be perfect, and they want to keep everything to themselves because others cannot do it themselves. And I'm not saying that this is true for all the entrepreneurs, but many are like that. So the leadership is more about the people, that how do I motivate them? And if you don't delegate, then if you keep all the interesting stuff to yourself, how are you going to bring them up, right? So one of the traits of the good leaders are they're good at the delegation, which sometimes the entrepreneurs may not be good at it.
Yeah, I've heard the phrase delegate and elevate, to give people, the assignment, but also elevate them to actually do something about it, not, force them to come back to you all the time.
Yes, I'll use that if you don't mind. I mean, I didn't think about it, but that's so
yeah.
true.
Yeah. And then I think another phrase is the whole let go of the vine, right? Where we need to pass something up, but you need to let go of the last vine, let people have it. You need to let go a little bit. Once you know they've got it and they've got their marching orders, like let them do it. Stop getting in their way. Sometimes we do that. What is that trait that causes us? Is that perfectionism that we don't get out of our own way or our team's way?
Yes, of course, because you are, like I said, you are so passionate about making it so perfect. And yes, I mean, there's nobody can replace yourself. I mean, being an entrepreneur, and that's why you are an entrepreneur. And
100%.
but at the same time, I think I mean, I personally have gone through the same challenge. One of the things I always tell myself is that what got you up here not going to take you to the next level.
Yes.
And so if you are a 5 people company, yes, it will work. Okay, perfectionist, because there's not much to manage, and there's you can do many things, right? You can wear many hats. But when you are like 500, 700 people company, now it's not about you. It's about the company, it's about the culture, it's about the people. They have dreams. And one of my social goals, and I think that's one of the things that I always look at in the people, entrepreneurs side of it. And so, definitely, we will all be lying to say money, is not, I mean, everybody want to do financially, they want to do well.
Of course.
But everybody should have a social purpose also, right? And so if you can help other people, and, I come from the culture where we believe in karma, that it comes back to you. If I help you, not necessarily you're going to help me back, but there's, somebody else is going to help me, right? And so one of my purposes, so one of our vision as a company is that, we want to help SMB market, and we want to provide the tools and resources to SMB market. When I say SMB, it's a small to mid-sized businesses that only big company can afford. So now, with the help of the technology, with the help of our offshore help, we have an office in India, and we are able to offer a lot of these tools and resources at the much lower cost that only big companies can help. So as a result, what happens is our ability. I mean, we help companies to scale. So as an entrepreneur, you are wearing a multiple hats. Okay, I need accounting to be done. I need IT to be done. I need the marketing and sales and HR. So one of our vision is to be a one-stop service. So if you don't mind, let me just kind of tell you what we do. So we basically.
Oh, actually, hold on a second. I actually have one question before we get to that.
Yep.
I do want to dive into more about what you do. But you've got me so fascinated. You've had all these experiences. I'm really curious. Who are you? Who are you? Can you just take me back in time? Little Satish days growing up, did you know you were going to be an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, accountant, working in numbers, but also growing companies? What was it like?
If you saw me my early 20s,
Yeah.
you probably would feel sorry for me. Okay, what is this guy going to do? And even I felt sorry for myself. Many of us are not made entrepreneurs, right? It's about getting an opportunity, be at the right place at the right time and hanging around with the right people.
Definitely.
Right. And so give you my history is that, I grew up in village. And I think I had sometimes people think, okay, growing up the village, why is it so exciting? I can tell you that. I mean, I learned so much from going from the village because we had so much freedom. It basically showed me, you know, uh, oh, what is the freedom can do. This is in India, and we had buses going, and people used to it was a village where of course, like you said, which kid doesn't like to play, right? So
Right.
you give us 24 hours, we'll play for 24 hours. And I think
Yeah.
good thing about growing up in village is the security is there. People, you don't have to worry about any bad things happening to kids. So a lot of time when our parents actually send people to find us, that go find, it's a dinner time, and I think that freedom actually have helped me personally, because be on my own, take care of yourself, be
Right.
aware of what's going on around you and everything, because nobody's watching you. I think in here in US, a lot of time I feel that we overprotect.
Yeah.
you know
Definitely.
and so growing up at the village, then I did my high schooling there, and then I had my first degree was in organizational psychology. So that was my it's more like why companies do what they do, and
Right.
understanding the company's point of view. And then my family, my sisters were here, and when growing up, we always thought America,
Yeah.
and,
Sure.
it's a land of the opportunity, land of smart people. And I wasn't doing much there, actually, be honest with you. And said, okay, well, my sister is telling me, let me at least try it out, right? So I came here, and we struggled. I mean, it's not like our families were well-to-do or anything. So I went to school at night. I went to work at night, and then during the day I went to school. I worked at the convenience store. Got my accounting degree, and then I decided to do CPA. And I was probably one of the, let me brag myself a little bit, but I was one of the first one, that one of the very few, I think it's among top 4%, like, who actually passes the CPA exam first time at that
No
time.
doubt.
Now
I've heard it's so challenging.
yeah. So I did that, and that gives me a confidence. Hey, you're no dummy. Now
Yeah.
you just have to find. And I think one of the good things about the Indian community is very entrepreneurial, and especially the state I come from, that you see everybody around you is a business people. And even my family, I think all my siblings have done well because the entrepreneur spirit. My father actually had 23 different occupations. And
Really?
yeah, so he worked hard. I learned from my father how to work hard, help people. My mom, I got the whole relationship side of it, that how do you build the relationship, how do you take care of the people, and how does that the whole karma things, right?
Yeah.
So I had a good combination of between the parents. Came here, and then my brother was here in Boston, so I decided to come to Boston. At that time, didn't have of course, when I came here, I could not speak English. And
Really?
yeah, so it was a struggle to first, I was still, when I was looking for my first job, my English was kind of not so good. So no, I mean, it was difficult time. So one of the things I said, well, I'm sitting here not doing anything, let me just go and so I actually knock on the CPA firm's door and say, listen, here's the deal. You hire me for 3 months, don't pay me. When you think I'm worth it, you start paying me. And since then, I have never looked back. First few years, like,
Did they hired you?
oh yeah. Somebody took a chance on me, and I think it's a, that is actually a good trait of that, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a good, that's one of the trait of entrepreneurs, that they have a very self-confidence, that they just look for an opportunity to prove that, prove themselves. So work through that. I've been involved in, so I did the CPA gig for 10 years, consulting, audit, tax. Then my brother has started a high-tech company. We grew that to good sized company, and I think this is 2020 now. No, 2000 rather.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you remember 2000 when the, so we were actually flying high. We had a venture capital lineup, people we invested, and then that time, I don't know if you remember, the market collapsed, the whole market.
In 2000.
In 2000, right?
Interesting.
Somewhere between 2000 and 2001.
Right.
And this is where the resiliency comes into picture, that, okay, we didn't quit because, somebody didn't, we readjusted ourselves, changed, and we ended up selling to a public company. And so this was my second company that was sold to a public company.
Amazing.
And so, we didn't get as much as probably had we raised the venture capital, and, but the good thing is it was still a good exit. And then I was involved in merger and acquisitions, and then I started the analytic solution. So, and our analytic solution is, we basically provide a back office services to small to mid-sized businesses, where our vision is to be a one-stop services. So start from accounting, finance, IT services, web application development, websites, mobile applications, also infrastructure point of view. Like if you want to move your servers to cloud, like AWS or Azure, we also provide virtual assistants, data automations, and business transformation services. So we help businesses improving their internal processes. And all these services, we kind of, because of combination of our business acumen and also automations, technology, use of technology, and our access to our offshore office, we are able to give them good value, and
right.
something that only big company can afford. So that's kind of about me.
Yeah, no, I love that story. Even to present day, growing up in the village, having the freedom to try things and to maybe get injured but to play, and to connect with friends, and then, man, working hard at school. And yeah, accounting is no joke, right? There's some degrees people take, and we make fun of them because they basically just had a party in college. But I don't get the sense that accounting is one of those. And so what an interesting, what a cool story, the fact that when you pass that thing, it reminded you, because you mentioned that we often do believe in ourselves, but I think we often sometimes are our biggest critic. And so we need little reminders that, hey, no, you got this. You really do got this. So that, to kind of push through some of those tough times.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know if you have kids or not, but
I do, yeah.
When you see your kid taking the first step, they don't stop, they fall, and they're actually excited to take another step. And that's the risk, right? And they know that, okay, falling could hurt, but they're so excited about walking,
Yeah.
And it's all, entrepreneurship is all about walking, learn to walk. And then once you're like, oh, okay, this is not bad, let me try running now,
Right.
So, yeah.
I found it was even scarier teaching them to ride a bike, because I realized for them to actually learn how to do it, I need to let go.
Yes.
But you want to hold on, because you're like, look, if you fall on this bike, it's gonna, I mean, we got helmets and stuff on you, but like, you got to let go of them. Oh, back to your conversation about delegating, you have to let go so they can pedal the bike. Otherwise, or even to take their first step, right? They can take their first step while they're holding your hands, but eventually they gotta figure out the balance on their own.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the advantage that we had, all my siblings also, that my parents actually, even though my father was only like 7th grade, made it to 7th grade, my mother also, they always believed that, explore the world. And actually at very young age, and this is actually a true story. I have 5 siblings. But the first time we met, all five of us, was during my brother's wedding. And
Wow.
some of my siblings grew up in Africa. One is in London, and one was married in the US. So we were not able to kind of all of us meet together. And I think that's one of the things that I always appreciated about my parents, and not necessarily the, teaching us about the business, but they had the courage to send us out. So very early age, sending out to us to the boarding schools, explore the world, and be on your own, and do something for you. Even though I did not do much, we believe in you, kind of thing. So, and that gives us the confidence that, and that helps a lot also.
You're right. I had similar experience where you mentioned the early 20s. I was not a shining example of, I mean, I was not a good student, right? And I understood the concepts, but I was bored with maybe the setup of the whole situation. So lots, and then lots of failures as well, of like getting fired or laid off, or just not finding your fit, not realizing maybe you're an entrepreneur. And then, but once that sinks in, you realize, there's something here. And then you could just take off and run with it.
Right. I think a lot of time we are our own limitations, actually, is that people are, they're not having a self-confidence about doing, it's afraid of falling. And, people don't realize that we are tougher than what we think, and we don't give ourselves too much credit. So just having a courage is one of the, courage is probably the biggest trait of the entrepreneurs, right? They're willing to take risk, and they're willing to sacrifice, And I think they also see that once they take baby step, they fall and say, okay, it's not as bad as I thought, kind of thing,
Right.
So learning from the experiences, right?
Right. I mean, there's falls and then there's falls, right? So yeah, hey, I just skinned my knee. I'm fine. I'm gonna be okay. This is a perfect timing, the perfect topic. I wanted to ask you this question. It's a bit of a hypothetical question,
Sure.
because you see, I may or may not have a time machine up here in New Hampshire. So let's say you come visit, we get to use this time machine, and we go back in time, and you get to visit yourself, those early 20s days, and it could be, before that degree, or maybe just after you got that accounting degree, but you get to talk to yourself and give yourself advice and recommendations. What kind of things did you need to hear back then?
Yeah. So, I think I was one of those guys, just keep your eyes open. And I wish I had probably taken a risk earlier than, and maybe I was looking for a perfect opportunity. I think, um, had I actually done that, I would have owned the Blockbuster probably. But we can't go back in the past and fix anything. But that's
Right.
one thing, is that just having a self-confidence. I have early confidence. I had it in me. It's just that I was afraid at that time, and I wish if I had a mentor or somebody to guide me. So I believe in having a coach or mentor. So wish I had a good mentor or coach, to who can actually, and this type of podcast didn't exist, right?
Right.
At that time. Now, even my kids know more about motivation than I ever experienced at that age. We actually have to go on through ourselves, fall many times, and
Yeah.
learn. There's so much available right now, and that's the advantage that our current, the current generation has, is there's a lot of information available, a lot of coaching available, a lot of mentoring available. So get early help, right?
Yeah.
And the second thing is, don't try to do everything. If you're not a good leader, get a good team to support you. Get the right people in place, especially if you have a big plans to grow the company.
Oh, I love that. Don't try to do everything. Get help earlier. Get a coach. Work with a group. Absolutely, man. That's fantastic. Uh, Do you work with a lot of groups now with your work with analytic solutions? Do you see these younger entrepreneurs that maybe were in the same place that you were at
Yeah,
previously?
and I think that's where we were just talking about my social purpose. So
Yeah.
one is definitely helping the small companies to be successful so they can hire more people. So how do you, I always say that to people that, you come to earth, you have to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And what are you doing besides just taking care of yourself, right? Do something for other people, right?
Right.
And I think one of the things, I grew up in India and I see that there's so much talent. The problem is opportunities, right? And sometimes, it's all because of how the country is doing, the opportunities you have. You can be a great entrepreneur, but if you don't have the right opportunity around you, I mean, it's not much you can do about it. So one of the things that I like to do is, wake them up, push them a little bit, teach them how to fish, and
Right.
rather than giving them the fish. Our goal, my personal dream is to say, how can I help creating the entrepreneur? So tomorrow they go out and open the companies. They say, oh, this is how analytics did it, and this is replicable model, and they learn from it, and they hire 10 people, 50 people, 100 people. We already have a lot of cases in our company, or where some of our employees have left, they have started their own company and they're pretty successful at it.
Oh,
And I think that's one of our dreams, is that how do we guide them? Because a lot of them, the young kids, and especially in India, a lot of time the kids do what their parents wants them to do. Oh, because
right.
my neighbor is a doctor, you should be a doctor. And a lot of time in India, out of respect, kids listen, and they end up doing something they have no interest in. So our job is to say, okay, it's nothing too late. Let's find your passion. Let's find out what you are interested in. Let's find you the right opportunity. So mentoring them, and that's what I'm saying, early mentoring. And so much talent, and here, there, everywhere, there's so much talent, but the right mentoring is not there many often. We hear, I mean, we deal with a lot of issues at home, I mean, and around in schools, and there's not right help is not available, and that's where people get sidetracked, and then they screw up their lives. But so
Amazing.
yeah, getting the mentoring early, coaching early in your life, I think is important.
Do you do coaching as well? Do you do the mentoring?
Yeah, I coach. I spend majority of my time with the employees, but
Okay. Yeah.
I do
Like a
mentoring.
leader.
Yeah, yes, and but anytime I have an opportunity to with a businessman, I have a lot of friends, families, I help out, and it just if I mean, it doesn't cost me anything, so that, and I enjoy it too.
Yeah. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And this is, I feel like I could probably talk to you for hours and hours at a time. There's so much wisdom. You can tell you've experienced it. Like you've learned to walk, and you did it the hard way, but also the fun way. So where can people connect if they want to reach out to you, either professionally or the social platforms, and also how do we get more information about analytic solutions too?
So I am a EO sponsor now, and I'm actually thinking about becoming a member also, because I met quite a few people at the EO, pretty impressive, groups of people. So, and I think I can also, even see, we are always learning, and in no way I'm saying that, hey, I know everything, because
Right.
times are changing and new things, so and EO has a lot of smart people, and even last week we had a group meeting, and you always pick up some new ideas and everything else that helps me grow my business, right? So yes, I mean, I'm part of the EO group, but outside the EO group, we website is www.analytics.com, analytix.com. My contact information is there also, but if you, I mean, I can give my email address. It's
Sure.
Satish Patel, Satish.Patel, Patel at analytics.com. And happy to help anybody. I mean, regardless, I'm not even talking about using our services, but happy to share my experience, what I went through, and if I can help anybody anyway, I'd be happy to help.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here. man, I mean, there's so many things we covered today. We talked about entrepreneurship and leadership, and they're both important, but there's different traits and qualities that people have to be a good leader versus a successful entrepreneur. And so I just want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing this with me today.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. And I've been listening to your podcast. And actually, even, even though we are self-motivated, Casey, sometimes, you just have to listen to certain other stories outside your story, and see how other people are doing it. And, you learn from it. So I pick up few points here and there about, and so I appreciate your hard work also. So you guys are doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, this is one small way just to share the kind of things that we're both learning in that EO world, right? I mean, there's so many great members and stories to be sharing. And for me, podcasting is a way for me to listen and to learn, and not always talk. So I really appreciate that feedback too. I'm learning here for real too. And so for those listening, if you've learned something, and I know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then I recommend you share this episode with someone else, especially if you're in EO. Share this with someone who's not in EO, because perhaps they should join, and become either member or sponsor. And also, this is a great way to meet our fellow members and our fellow sponsors. So I really, again, thank you so much for being on here.
All right, good. Thank you so much
right.
again. Have
All
a
right,
good day.
everyone. Well, this has been another really cool episode of Leadership in Action. We will see you all next time.
Leadership in Action is sponsored by the Boston chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization. As the world's only peer-to-peer network exclusively for entrepreneurs, EO helps transform the lives of those who transform the world.